The night feels unusually still, as if the air itself is waiting for something to unfold. There are moments in life when the ordinary rhythm of the world pauses, when unseen movements are taking place just beyond the edge of our understanding. You may not see it yet. You may not hear the quiet conversations happening behind the curtain of time, but something is shifting, and it is shifting in your favor. For a long time you have walked through seasons that seemed confusing, even unfair. Doors closed when you expected them to open. Opportunities passed you by, while others appeared to move ahead effortlessly. At times it felt as though your efforts were invisible, as though the good you carried inside you was overlooked by the very world you were trying to serve. Yet what you did not realize was that none of it was wasted. Every quiet act of patience, every moment you chose integrity over convenience, every time you refused to become bitter when disappointment visited your door, all of it was being noticed. Not by crowds, not by loud voices, but by the deeper currents that govern the true unfolding of destiny. The truth is that preparation often looks like delay. When a life is meant for something significant, it is rarely rushed. Just as a great cathedral is not built overnight, a meaningful calling is shaped slowly, carefully, with attention to foundations that cannot be seen from the outside. While others may have been climbing quickly, you are being strengthened quietly. And now something remarkable is approaching. There are times when divine timing aligns with human opportunity in a way that feels almost unbelievable. A meeting that seems ordinary suddenly becomes life-changing. A conversation that begins casually opens the door to a future you never imagined. One moment you are walking along the familiar road of your daily routine, and the next moment someone appears who recognizes something in you that others have missed. When a powerful opportunity comes close, the first instinct is often doubt. The mind begins to whisper questions. Why me? Am I ready for this? What if I fail? These thoughts can feel sensible, even responsible, but they often hide a deeper fear. The fear of stepping into the very life you were meant to live. But consider this carefully. Opportunities that truly belong to you rarely arrive with loud announcements or flashing lights. They come quietly, often disguised as a simple offer, a surprising invitation, or a person who sees potential in you before you fully see it in yourself. And sometimes that person carries influence far beyond what you expect. A powerful individual may step into your path, someone with resources, connections, or authority, and they will notice something about you that cannot be manufactured. Authenticity. The world is full of talent, but authenticity is rare. It cannot be copied or rehearsed. It is formed through struggle, humility, and perseverance. That is why your journey mattered. Every challenge you endured carved depth into your character. Every moment you felt unseen was shaping the quiet strength that now makes you trustworthy in ways many people are not. And when someone with true discernment looks at you, they will not simply see who you are today. They will see who you are becoming. This is why the offer coming toward you may feel almost unbelievable. Not because it is impossible, but because it arrives after a long period of waiting. The human heart grows cautious during long seasons of delay. It learns to expect less in order to avoid disappointment. Yet destiny does not always move according to our emotional expectations. Sometimes it arrives suddenly. Imagine standing at the edge of a door you never expected to open. Behind it lies a path that could change your circumstances, expand your influence, and allow your gifts to reach places you once thought unreachable. The person offering that door is not simply making a business decision or a casual suggestion. They are responding to something they sense within you. They see potential that has been quietly maturing. But here is the important part. When that moment arrives, it will require courage from you. Because the greatest opportunities in life often appear slightly larger than our comfort. They stretch us. They call us to grow into the very person we were always capable of becoming. And if you hesitate too long, doubt can begin to close the door that faith was meant to open. So prepare your mind now. The coming moment may surprise you, but it will not be random. It will be the result of countless unseen preparations that have been unfolding throughout your journey. The people you met, the lessons you learned, the setbacks that forced you to grow stronger, all of them have been aligning quietly for this very intersection of time and opportunity. And when that powerful person steps forward with an offer that feels almost unreal, the question will not be whether the opportunity is genuine. The real question will be whether you are ready to believe that the season of waiting was never the end of your story, but the beginning of something far greater than you ever expected. There are moments in life when the ordinary rhythm of our days is interrupted by something we cannot easily explain. It may arrive quietly, almost unnoticed at first, like the faint stirring of wind before a great storm, or the first light that appears on the horizon before dawn. Yet those who pay attention can sense that something meaningful is unfolding beneath the surface of everyday life. You may feel it now, a subtle awareness that your story is not remaining the same, that the season you have been walking through is slowly giving way to something unexpected. For a long time you may have wondered why your path seemed slower than the paths of others. You watched as people around you received opportunities, recognition, or assistance that never appeared to come your way. There were times when you worked faithfully, did what was right, and still found yourself standing in the same place, while others seemed to advance. In such moments it is easy for the heart to grow tired, and for the mind to quietly whisper that perhaps nothing extraordinary is meant for you after all. But life has a curious way of concealing its most important preparations. Very often the most significant turning points are formed during the seasons that feel the most uneventful. While you believed nothing important was happening, something far more valuable was being developed within you. Patience was taking root. Discernment was growing stronger. The quiet ability to remain steady when circumstances were uncertain was becoming part of your character. These things may not appear impressive in the eyes of the world, but they are precisely the qualities that prepare a person for moments of real opportunity. You see, when life intends to entrust someone with greater influence or responsibility, it rarely does so quickly. The world may celebrate sudden success, but genuine growth almost always occurs slowly and quietly. Just as a tree must first deepen its roots before its stem must. Branches can stretch toward the sky. A person must first develop strength within before stepping into larger possibilities. And this is where your present moment begins to matter. Somewhere beyond the horizon of your current understanding, circumstances are shifting. Conversations are happening. Decisions are being considered, and paths that once seemed unrelated to your life are gradually moving closer to your direction. You may not be aware of it yet, but the story that is unfolding around you is beginning to include people and opportunities that could alter the course of your future. Among these possibilities is the appearance of someone whose influence carries unusual weight. This person may possess authority, resources, or connections that extend far beyond your own reach. In the ordinary flow of life, individuals like this rarely cross paths with someone in your position. Their world is often separate, moving along different roads and guided by different concerns. Yet history shows us again and again that there are moments when such boundaries quietly disappear. A meeting occurs that was never planned. A conversation begins that neither person expected to have. A recommendation is spoken in a room you have never entered. And suddenly the distance between two very different lives begins to close. What makes these encounters remarkable is not merely the power of the individual involved, but the strange way in which they recognize something in another person that others have overlooked. There is a kind of perception that certain people possess, a sensitivity to potential that cannot easily be measured or explained. While others see only the surface of a person's circumstances, they notice deeper qualities: sincerity, perseverance, quiet intelligence, and the ability to remain faithful, even when recognition is absent. These qualities often grow strongest in those who have endured long seasons of obscurity. You may have believed that your unnoticed efforts were meaningless, that the discipline you maintained and the integrity you protected were invisible to everyone around you. Yet it is often precisely these hidden traits that draw the attention of someone who understands their value. And when such recognition occurs, it can lead to something surprising. An offer may appear, one that feels almost impossible when compared with the life you have been living. It may not arrive with dramatic announcements or grand displays, but its significance will become clear as the reality of the opportunity begins to unfold. The person presenting it will not simply be offering assistance or kindness. They will be opening a door that leads into a completely new landscape of possibilities. At first, your natural response may be hesitation. After all, the human mind is cautious when faced with sudden change. It remembers the disappointments of the past and attempts to protect itself from future uncertainty. You may question whether you are truly ready, whether you possess the abilities required to step into such a moment. Yet it is worth remembering that readiness is often discovered only after we accept the invitation to grow. Very few people feel completely prepared when life presents them with an opportunity that stretches beyond their previous experience. The truth is that many of the most meaningful journeys begin with a simple step of faith, taken before every answer is fully understood. And so the question that will eventually face you is not merely whether the opportunity is real. The deeper question is whether you are willing to believe that the quiet years of preparation, the struggles that strengthened you and the patience you were forced to develop were not accidents at all, but part of a careful unfolding that has been, in leading you toward this very moment. There is something deeply mysterious about the way life arranges its most important moments. Often we imagine that great opportunities will arrive with clarity and certainty, that when something truly meant for us appears, it will be obvious and impossible to ignore. Yet the truth is far more subtle. The moments that change the course of a life frequently begin quietly, almost invisibly, disguised within ordinary circumstances. You may be living through such a moment without fully realizing it. For many people, the early signs of change do not feel dramatic at all. They appear as small shifts in direction, unusual conversations or unexpected encounters that seem insignificant at first glance. Yet these seemingly simple events can carry within them the beginning of something much larger. Life rarely reveals its intentions all at once. Instead, it invites us to pay attention to the small details, the quiet signals that something new is forming just beyond our awareness. This is especially true for those who have spent long periods in preparation. When someone has endured seasons of waiting, growth, and quiet perseverance, the arrival of opportunity often feels almost unbelievable. The mind struggles to accept that the long stretch of effort, the moments of doubt, and the patience required to keep moving forward were all leading somewhere meaningful. It is easier to believe that life is random than to recognize the careful pattern that sometimes reveals itself only after many years. Yet there are moments when that pattern begins to appear. Imagine for a moment that somewhere not far from your current circumstances, a decision is being considered. A conversation is unfolding in a place you have never been. Your name may not have been mentioned yet, but the conditions that will eventually bring your path into alignment with one influential are quietly forming. This is the peculiar way in which many opportunities come into existence. They begin far away from us, within situations that appear unrelated to our lives. Then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, the distance begins to close. The world often appears vast and complicated, filled with countless individuals moving in their own directions. Yet from time to time, two very different paths begin to move toward each other. One belongs to someone who carries experience, authority, and the ability to open doors that remain closed to most people. The other belongs to someone who has been walking patiently through seasons of preparation, learning lessons that cannot be taught in classrooms or books. When these paths meet, something unusual can happen. A person who possesses influence does not always search for perfection. In fact, those who have achieved true wisdom often understand that perfection is an illusion. What they seek instead is authenticity, a quality that cannot be imitated or manufactured. Authenticity reveals itself through quiet strength, humility, resilience, and the willingness to remain honest even when circumstances are difficult. These qualities are rarely developed during easy times. They grow slowly through disappointment, through challenges that require courage, and through moments when continuing forward demands faith rather than certainty. A person who has passed through such experiences carries a depth that others may sense immediately, even if they cannot fully explain why. This is often what captures the attention of someone powerful. When an individual who has the ability to shape opportunities encounters someone whose character has been refined by life's quieter struggles, a kind of recognition can occur. It is not always spoken aloud, but it is felt clearly. One person sees the potential for something meaningful, while the other may still be unsure of their own worth. And this is where the moment becomes delicate, because when opportunity approaches, it does not always arrive wrapped in confidence. Instead, it often awakens uncertainty within us. We begin to question whether we deserve such a chance, whether we possess the skills required to meet the expectations that may follow. The mind begins to search for reasons why the opportunity might not truly belong to us, but doubt has a curious habit of appearing precisely when something valuable is near. If we allowed every doubt to guide our decisions, we would rarely step into the experiences that shape our lives in meaningful ways. Courage, after all, does not mean the absence of uncertainty. It simply means that we are willing to move forward, even when every answer has not yet been revealed. The person who eventually extends an offer to you may not expect perfection. What they may recognize, instead, is your willingness to grow, your openness to learning, and the integrity that has quietly guided your actions during times when no one seemed to notice. These qualities carry more value than many people realize. Talent may attract attention, but character sustains trust. And when someone with influence is deciding where to invest their time, resources, or belief, trust often becomes the most important factor of all. They look not only at what someone can do today, but at who that person is becoming over time. This is why the offer that approaches may feel both exciting and unsettling. It will represent more than a simple opportunity. It will represent a turning point, a moment when the years of preparation behind you meet the possibilities waiting ahead. Accepting such a moment requires something deeper than skill. It requires the quiet confidence to believe that your journey, with all its challenges and lessons, has been shaping you for more than you once imagined. And when that realization begins to take hold, the opportunity no longer feels impossible. It begins to feel like the natural next step in a story that has been unfolding far longer than you realized. There comes a point in every meaningful journey when the events of the past begin to reveal their hidden purpose. For a long time, life may appear scattered, as if each experience stands alone without connection to the others. Difficult seasons feel pointless. Delays seem frustrating, and moments of uncertainty create the impression that nothing is moving forward. Yet with time, something remarkable begins to happen. The scattered pieces slowly start to form a pattern. You may be standing very close to such a moment now. When people speak about destiny or divine timing, they often imagine dramatic scenes filled with sudden revelations. But the reality is usually far quieter and far more profound. The unfolding of purpose often resembles the slow turning of a key within a lock. At first, nothing seems to change, and then suddenly the door opens in a way that feels both surprising and strangely familiar. What once seemed confusing begins to make sense. The struggles you endured were not meaningless interruptions. The delays you experienced were not simply obstacles placed in your path. Instead, they were shaping you in ways that could only become clear later. Every disappointment forced you to grow stronger. Every moment of uncertainty pushed you to develop patience and wisdom. These qualities are not accidental. They are the hidden foundations upon which meaningful opportunities are built. A person who has never faced difficulty may possess talent, but they often lack depth. They may move quickly through life, yet they do not always carry the inner strength required to sustain responsibility when circumstances become demanding. But someone who has walked through seasons of testing carries something different. They possess resilience. They understand the value of perseverance. They recognize that success is not merely about reaching a destination, but about becoming the kind of person capable of handling what waits there. This quiet transformation is often invisible to others, yet it is precisely what prepares someone for the moments that truly matter. Now imagine what happens when such preparation meets the attention of someone powerful. Influential individuals do not merely observe the surface of a person's life. The most perceptive among them look deeper. They search for individuals whose character has been shaped by real experience, individuals who understand responsibility because they have learned the discipline required to endure hardship. When such a person notices you, it may feel almost unbelievable. You may wonder how someone with such authority or influence could take interest in your life. You may question whether they truly see something valuable in you, or whether the situation is simply a coincidence. Yet moments like these often arise from circumstances that have been developing quietly for a long time. While you were focused on simply continuing forward, your story was becoming more compelling. The lessons you learned, the challenges you overcame, and the humility you maintained during seasons of difficulty created a depth that many people never achieve. This depth cannot be purchased or borrowed. It is formed through experience, through the willingness to keep moving, even when the outcome remains uncertain. And this is exactly what many influential people are searching for. They understand that ability alone is not enough. Skill may open a door, but character determines whether someone can walk through that door and continue forward with integrity. Hen, someone who possesses power encounters a person whose life reflects sincerity and resilience. Something powerful can happen. An opportunity begins to take shape. The offer that may soon appear in your life will not simply represent material gain or external success. It will represent recognition. It will be the acknowledgement that the qualities you developed during your quieter seasons have genuine value. Someone will see that the patience, discipline, and honesty you carried were not weaknesses, but strengths. Yet this moment will also bring a challenge, because stepping into a new opportunity often requires leaving behind the familiar comfort of the life you have known. Even when our circumstances have been difficult, they still become familiar to us. We understand their limits. We know how to navigate their boundaries. But when a new door opens, everything changes. The path ahead may lead into environments you have never experienced before. Expectations may grow larger. The responsibilities placed upon you may stretch your abilities in ways you have never encountered. This is why many people hesitate when opportunity appears. They fear that they may not be ready. Yet readiness is rarely a perfect condition that arrives before action. More often, readiness grows as we step forward. It develops through courage, through the willingness to trust that the preparation of the past has equipped us more than we realize. Consider how many remarkable journeys throughout history began with uncertainty. People who eventually achieved meaningful influence rarely began their paths with complete confidence. They began with faith, with the quiet belief that the experiences shaping their lives were leading somewhere important. Your story may now be approaching such a turning point. The powerful person who enters your life may not simply be offering assistance. They may be extending an invitation into a larger purpose, one that allows your abilities and character to reach places you never imagined possible. Their offer may seem astonishing at first, almost too generous or too significant to accept without hesitation. But what if it is exactly the opportunity your journey has been preparing you for? What if the years of quiet growth, the patience you are forced to learn, and the strength you developed during difficult seasons were all forming the foundation for this moment? When you begin to view your story from this perspective, something changes within you. The doubts that once felt overwhelming begin to lose their power. Instead of seeing yourself as unprepared, you begin to recognize that every step of your journey has been guiding you toward the very opportunity that now stands before you. There are moments in life when everything that once felt distant begins to move closer with quiet certainty. At first, the change is almost unnoticeable. The rhythm of your days continues as usual, and nothing appears dramatically different. Yet beneath the surface, something important is unfolding. Circumstances are shifting in ways you cannot yet see, and the path ahead is beginning to open in directions you never expected. Many people spend years believing their lives will always remain within the same boundaries. They become accustomed to a particular routine, a certain level of opportunity, and a familiar pattern of expectations. Even when they hope for something greater, a part of them quietly assumes that nothing extraordinary will truly happen. But life has a remarkable way of surprising those who have patiently continued forward. The reason many people miss these moments is because they assume that meaningful change must arrive with obvious signals. They expect dramatic announcements or unmistakable signs that their season has finally shifted, yet more often the beginnings of transformation arrive quietly, disguised within simple events that seem ordinary at first. A conversation that feels casual may carry unexpected significance. A chance meeting might open the door to an entirely new direction. A person who enters your life for what appears to be a brief interaction may soon become someone whose influence reaches far beyond that first encounter. This is how many life-changing opportunities begin. The world is filled with individuals whose positions grant them the ability to shape the future of others. These are people who have accumulated knowledge, resources, authority, or connections that allow them to open doors most people never even see. Yet despite their influence, they are often searching for something rare. Individuals who possess authenticity and quiet strength. Such qualities are not always easy to find. In a world where many chase recognition, status, and quick success, the deeper virtues of patience, humility, and perseverance are often overlooked. Yet those who truly understand leadership and responsibility know that these qualities matter far more than outward appearances. This is why your journey has been so important. The difficulties you faced were not merely obstacles to overcome. They were shaping your character in ways that cannot be taught through easy success. Each moment when you chose integrity instead of compromise added depth to who you are. Each challenge that required endurance strengthened your ability to remain steady when circumstances became uncertain. You may not have realized it at the time, but those moments were forming something valuable within you, and now there may be someone who sees that value. When a powerful person notices qualities like sincerity, resilience, and honesty, their interest is rarely casual. People who carry influence tend to develop a strong instinct for recognizing potential. They understand that the future is built not merely by talent, but by individuals whose character allows them to handle responsibility with wisdom. This recognition can lead to an unexpected turning point. An offer may be placed before you that seems almost unbelievable when compared to the life you have been living. It might involve a new opportunity, a partnership, a position, or a chance to step into a role that expands your influence far beyond what you once imagined. At first, the offer may feel overwhelming. You may wonder why such an opportunity would come to you. You may question whether you truly possess the abilities required to succeed in a situation that feels so much larger than your previous experience. Doubt may begin to whisper that perhaps someone else would be more qualified, more confident, or more prepared. But these thoughts often appear whenever a person stands at the edge of meaningful change. Growth always involves stepping into unfamiliar territory. If every opportunity perfectly matched our current level of comfort, we would never discover the abilities waiting within us. It is only when we are invited into something greater that our true potential begins to unfold. The individual presenting this opportunity may already understand this. They may not expect you to have every answer or every skill fully developed. What they may see instead is your willingness to learn, your commitment to doing what is right, and the quiet determination that carried you through seasons when progress seemed slow. These qualities are far more valuable than perfection. When someone with influence chooses to support or invest in another person, they are often looking for trustworthiness above all else. They want to know that the individual standing before them possesses the character required to grow into the responsibility they are being offered. And this is where your past begins to reveal its true purpose. Every challenge you faced strengthened the very qualities that now make you ready for this moment. The patience you learned during times of waiting taught you discipline. The disappointments you endured taught you humility. The persistence you showed when things seemed difficult proved that you are capable of continuing forward even when the path is uncertain. All of this matters more than you may realize. The offer that is approaching may not simply change your circumstances. It may change the direction of your entire story. What once felt impossible may suddenly become within reach. The doors that remained closed for so long may begin to open in ways that seem almost astonishing. Yet even as these possibilities appear, the most important decision will still belong to you, because every opportunity, no matter how remarkable, requires a response. It asks whether you are willing to believe that your journey has been preparing you for something greater. It asks whether you are ready to step beyond the limits you once accepted and move toward the future that is now beginning to unfold before you. There is a quiet moment that arrives in every significant turning point of life, a moment when the future stands before us like a door waiting to be opened. It is not always frightening. It does not always come with the certainty we might expect. Instead, it often appears with a mixture of excitement and hesitation, as though life itself is asking a question that only we can answer. You may soon find yourself standing within such a moment. For a long time, your journey may have felt uncertain. You walked through days where progress seemed slow, and there were times when it appeared that nothing extraordinary was going to happen. You continued moving forward because you believed it was the right thing to do, not because you were guaranteed a remarkable outcome. This kind of perseverance is rare. Many people abandon their efforts when the results do not appear quickly. They grow discouraged and begin to believe that patience is pointless. Yet those who continue, despite uncertainty, develop something within themselves that cannot easily be measured. They form resilience, a quiet strength that allows them to remain steady even when circumstances feel unclear. It is precisely this quality that prepares a person for moments of real opportunity. When a powerful individual enters your path with an offer that seems almost unbelievable, the situation may feel surreal. You may wonder how your life arrived at this point. You may look back at your past and remember all the times when things did not work out as you hoped. Those memories can make it difficult to fully trust the new opportunity standing before you. The human mind is cautious by nature. It often prefers familiar struggles to unfamiliar possibilities. Even when our circumstances are difficult, they are at least predictable. We understand their limits, and we know how to navigate within them. But when something new appears, something larger than anything we have experienced before, it can feel intimidating. This is where the real test begins. Because the opportunity itself is only part of the moment, the other part lies within your willingness to accept it. When someone with influence recognizes potential in you, they are offering more than a simple chance. They are extending their belief, their confidence that you possess qualities capable of growing into something meaningful. That kind of belief carries great weight, yet accepting it requires courage. It requires the ability to look beyond the doubts that may still linger in your thoughts. Doubt often whispers that you are not ready, that you lack the experience, or that someone else would be more deserving of such an opportunity. But doubt does not always speak the truth. Very often, it simply reflects the fears we developed during times when life was difficult. Those fears once served a purpose, protecting us from disappointment or failure. But when the moment of opportunity arrives, holding too tightly to those fears can prevent us from stepping into the very future we once hoped for. Consider what it truly means when someone powerful offers you a chance. They are not merely responding to luck or coincidence. They have seen something in you that convinced them. Your character and ability are worth investing in. Perhaps they noticed your determination, the way you continued working, even when recognition was absent. Perhaps they saw the sincerity with which you approached your responsibilities, or the integrity you maintained when it would have been easier to compromise. These qualities matter far more than many people realize. Influence and success often place individuals in positions where trust becomes extremely valuable. When someone chooses to extend an opportunity, they are looking not only at what you can accomplish today, but also at who you are becoming over time. This is why your journey has been so important. Every challenge you faced shaped the person you are now. The moments that once felt like setbacks were quietly building the wisdom and strength required for larger responsibilities. Without those experiences, the opportunity approaching you might have arrived too early. But now you are different. You have endured enough to understand the value of patience. You have learnt enough to appreciate the importance of humility. You have grown enough to recognize that true success involves more than personal gain. It involves the ability to contribute something meaningful to the world around you. These lessons have prepared you in ways you may not fully see yet. And when the offer is finally placed before you, it will represent more than a change in circumstances. It will represent a doorway into a new chapter of your life, one that carries possibilities you may have once believed were out of reach. Standing before that doorway may feel overwhelming at first. You may pause, reflecting on the distance between where you began and where you now stand. The journey that once felt uncertain will suddenly appear filled with purpose. Each step, each lesson, each season of waiting will seem connected to the moment unfolding before you. This realization brings a quiet sense of clarity. You begin to understand that the story of your life has never been random. The preparation, the growth, and the opportunities now emerging were all part of a larger unfolding. The powerful person offering you this chance is simply the messenger through whom that unfolding becomes visible. And when you finally recognize this, the question that once seemed difficult becomes much simpler. The door before you is open. The offer has been made. The only remaining question is whether you will step forward with the courage to accept the future that has been patiently waiting for you to arrive.